Your childhood looked fine on paper. Nobody hit you. Nobody left. There was a roof, food, a family photo on the wall. But something was off. You could feel it, and you could not explain it. Nothing was wrong, except something was always wrong. Emotional abandonment does not require a dramatic story. It does not require a villain. It happens quietly, in the space between what a child needed and what they actually got. And if nobody ever named it for you, you have been carrying something you cannot see. By the end of this video, you will have a name for it. This usually starts in a home where nothing was technically missing. The parents were present. They provided. But emotionally, they were somewhere else. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they were dealing with their own pain. Maybe they just did not know how to do it differently. So you learned to read the room instead of being in it. You learned to need less, to feel less, to ask for nothing. Researcher Daniel Siegel describes the nervous system as constantly scanning for safety signals. When those signals are inconsistently available, the system adapts. It builds walls, not as a choice, as a survival strategy. You are not broken. You are calibrated for an environment that shaped you before you had words for any of it. The first sign is that you have trouble knowing what you actually feel. Not just describing it, knowing it. Someone asks you how you are doing, and you pause too long. You run a quick scan. Fine. You say fine. But fine is not a feeling. It is a placeholder. Psychologists call this alexithymia, the difficulty translating internal states into language. When the adults around you were not curious about your inner world stopped being legible to you. You learned to skip the feeling and go straight to function. What do I do next? What does the situation require? The cost shows up every time someone who loves you asks what is wrong, and you genuinely cannot tell them. The second sign is that you became very good at taking care of other people. Everyone says you are so strong, so reliable, the one who holds things together. What they do not know is that you learned this early. When a parent's emotional needs were bigger than yours, you adapted. You started managing their moods, watching for tension, softening conflict before it started. Lindsay Gibson, who researched emotionally immature parents for decades, described this as role reversal. The child becomes the emotional regulator, the caretaker. It felt like maturity then. It feels like exhaustion now. The third sign is that you apologize constantly, before you finish a sentence, after you share an opinion. When someone else bumps into you, the apology comes out before the thought does. This is not politeness. This is a nervous system that learned that taking up space was dangerous. That your needs, your feelings, your presence required justification. Stephen Porges, whose work on polyvagal theory changed how we understand the nervous system, showed that chronic social threat causes the body to adopt appeasement behaviors. Shrinking, pre-apologizing, making yourself smaller so the environment stays safe. You are still doing it, in rooms where nobody is threatening you. The fourth sign is that you struggle to ask for help. Even when you desperately need it, you will figure out a workaround. You will stay up until 2 a.m. solving something alone rather than send one text. And if someone offers help, something in you resists it, suspects it, waits for the cost. Because in your early experience, needing people came with a price. Disappointment, guilt, being told you were too much, so you stopped needing out loud. The ACE study, one of the largest investigations of childhood adversity ever conducted by Felitti and Anda, found that emotional neglect rewires how people relate to support for decades. The body remembers what asking for help felt like, and it votes no. The fifth sign is that you feel like an outsider in most rooms, even rooms you belong in, even rooms where people like you. You are there, but you are also watching yourself be there. There is a layer of glass between you and the moment. Bessel van der Kolk described the body holding not just memory, but the entire relational template, how you expect to be seen, whether you expect to be seen at all. When a child grows up emotionally unseen, the nervous system does not automatically know what to do with being witnessed as an adult. It gets suspicious. It looks for the catch. Stop for a second. Everything you have heard so far, the overfunctioning, the apologizing, the glass wall, the hypervigilance, none of it is a personality flaw. None of it is who you are. It is what you built to survive an environment that did not meet you. Before we continue, that matters, because the next signs are the ones people are most ashamed of, and they are the ones that make the most sense once you understand where they came from. The sixth sign is that you have an intense fear of abandonment. Even in stable relationships, your partner is a little quiet and something in your chest tightens. A friend takes 2 days to reply, and the story you tell yourself is already catastrophic. This is not neediness. This is a nervous system that learned early that emotional availability disappears without warning. So it monitors, it scans, it prepares for loss. The attachment research of John Bowlby and later Mary Ainsworth showed that when early caregiving is emotionally inconsistent, children develop hypervigilant attachment. They cannot trust the stability of connection because connection was not stable. That hypervigilance does not disappear at 18. The seventh sign is that you feel a low-level guilt for existing, not acute guilt about something you did, a chronic background guilt about what you are, for taking up time, for having an opinion, for wanting things. This is one of the quieter marks of emotional abandonment. When a child's emotional presence is repeatedly ignored or minimized, the child concludes that their inner world is a burden. You are not too much. You are too much for them. That is not the same thing. The eighth sign is that you find it hard to rest without earning it. You work until you can justify a break. You help until you can justify receiving. You perform until someone gives you permission to stop. Rest that you did not earn does not feel safe. It feels like waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is the nervous system under chronic baseline activation. It does not know how to idle. Stillness became suspicious early. Stillness was when things went wrong. When you put all of this together, something becomes clear. You developed these patterns because your emotional world was not consistently met, because the people who were supposed to mirror your inner life were not able to, because you adapted brilliantly to what was available. None of this means your childhood was the worst. It means something was missing that you deserved. You are not too sensitive. You are not too needy. You are not fundamentally difficult to love. You are someone whose nervous system is still running a very old program in a world that has moved on. And you are allowed to need things without apologizing for the need. You are allowed to feel without immediately managing the feeling. You are allowed to receive care without first convincing yourself you earned it. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 8 signs hit closest. Not which one you recognized in someone else. Which one is yours? I want to know which one made you pause. If your childhood looked normal on the outside, but something always felt off on the inside, you were not imagining it. You were just living in the space between what was visible and what was real.